Good morning. My name is Samir Shrivastava, and together with Jenny Chapman, I am one of the co-organizers of this conference. In just a few minutes, Jenny and I will be back up here to tell you more about our plan for today. We'd like to welcome those of you who are joining us for the first time today, and we'd like to welcome back those of you who were with us yesterday for what we thought was a terrific first day of the conference, which culminated in a fireside chat with the head coach of the Golden State Warriors, Steve Kerr, which Jenny and I both really enjoyed, and we hope you did too. Today, we'd like to start by introducing the Dean of the Haas School of Business, Ann Harrison. Ann became the 15th Dean of the Haas School about a year ago, and she has a distinguished track record of scholarly contributions in the fields of development economics, international trade, and global labor markets. Ann comes back to Haas after spending a fair amount of time at the University of Pennsylvania at the Wharton School, where she was a professor of multinational management and business economics and public policy. And before Wharton, she was the director of development policy at the World Bank, where she co-managed a team of over 300 researchers and staff. Ann has deep Berkeley roots. She earned her bachelor's degree from UC Berkeley with a double major in economics and history, and she was also a professor here in the Department of Agricultural Resource and Economics. Please join me in welcoming Ann.
Thank you so much, Samir, for that kind introduction. So I'm really here just to wish you a very warm welcome to this second Berkeley Haas Culture Conference. The first one was last year, and for those of you who are returning, welcome for that. And for those of you who are new to this culture conference, we're very, very happy to have you here today. Berkeley Haas Business School really sees itself as a business school which is very much differentiated by its culture. When we ask students, why did you choose this business school as opposed to a Wharton or a Harvard or Stanford or many of the other business schools, students, apart from, of course, our stellar reputation and our wonderful location, which may not be as apparent today as it usually is, students will tell us they were drawn to Berkeley Haas because of its unique culture. And actually, it's the 10-year anniversary this year of our defining leadership principles, which encapsulate what makes Berkeley special. And some of those principles, such as beyond yourself, for example, you'll see them there in the concrete when you walk across the courtyard. They're actually on the walls of our buildings, and they're a very distinctive asset. It's not just that it's the culture of the business school that differentiates us. Berkeley as a university also is the home of a lot of pioneering research on the role of culture and how it makes a difference in businesses and operations. And that's true both for our Haas professors as well as different parts of the university. So we bring this wonderful wealth of research to today's conference. One thing I wanted to say is that the Berkeley Haas Culture Initiative was launched in 2018, and it really focuses on culture as a strategic resource. So again, culture as a strategic resource. And examples of culture as a strategic resource, I'm sure you'll be going through that and how to build it. But one of the ones that for me comes to mind is what I just said about how this culture, this differentiation really draws students to our business school. They're attracted by the culture is making us different. But there are examples which I'm sure you can think of in your daily lives all the time. As part of my welcome tour, my first year here, I traveled all over Asia. And one of the lunches that really struck me was this lunch that I had in Hong Kong with the CEO of the Bank of China. not a small enterprise, as you can well imagine, perched on the 75th floor with a view of all of Hong Kong. And we started talking. Of course, one of the questions I often ask CEOs is, what's your biggest challenge? And so I asked him, and he said, well, the biggest challenge for our bank is the digital transformation, which the banking industry is undergoing. And he said, but we've identified that challenge. The biggest challenge is getting our staff to understand and act on the challenge of digital transformation. So his biggest challenge as a CEO is the culture shift that they need to enact in order to meet the next generation of banking and what that will look like. And that really struck me coming from the CEO. So this will be something that I'm sure you'll be talking about all day. And I would really like to wish you a very productive conference. Please think of this as the beginning of a long relationship. Keep in touch with each other, exchange emails or whatever, WeChat in China, and continue to talk to each other. And I wish you a very wonderful and productive day. Thank you.
Thank you, Anne, for the welcome. We really appreciate it. And Jenny and I want to sort of set the stage for today. For those of you who were here yesterday, some of this will be a bit of a repeat, and we apologize for that. But we wanted to make sure for the people who are arriving today that we could set the stage so that we all are thinking about things in a similar way. So Anne mentioned the Berkeley Haas Culture Initiative, and we are super excited about the range of people who are here as part of this initiative, and particularly here at this conference. The broader goals of the Culture Initiative are really to invigorate research on culture and to bring together people across disciplinary boundaries, so sociology, psychology, strategy, economics, and to bring them into greater dialogue with one another. The other important goal is to draw more connections between academia and the worlds of industry. So there are firms out there, many of whom are here today, that are doing really innovative work related to culture, and there are researchers doing really interesting projects related to culture, and these two worlds often don't come into contact with one another, so we're trying to create a forum for that to happen. And the goal ultimately is to support ongoing collaboration and even collaborative research between some of the researchers and industry. So we're doing that through conferences such as this one, supporting research partnerships between academia and industry, sponsoring some of the research, disseminating research findings, and facilitating best practice sharing, all of which we're going to try to do today. So the goals for this particular conference are very much in line with that. We're trying to create a forum for cross-disciplinary exchange. We've convened what we think are a really sophisticated group of organizations, and we're going to hear from them about how they are thinking about managing culture as a strategic resource. We're going to think about creating a shared research agenda and hopefully facilitate the launch of some partnerships. We have a number of firms that have sponsored this initiative. We're incredibly grateful for your support. It's really going to help us to build this initiative and to build this community over time. And there are a number of follow-up activities that we're planning to do. So several of us in the room today are co-editing a special issue of Strategy Science, one of the leading journals, on the topic of culture. There are newsletters that some of you have already received and you'll be getting more of that will help share research findings. There'll be podcasts forthcoming, research briefings, and other activities. And we welcome any ideas you have about other ways we can keep this community connected over time. We have over 80 academics who are participating in this conference from all over the world, some of the leading researchers in the domain of culture, and over 90 leaders from some of the top organizations and some of the most sophisticated organizations in the domain of culture. Jenny?
Thanks, Samir. Good morning. My name is Jenny Chapman. I'm Samir's partner in crime here. And we wanted to lay out today's plan. We have a fantastic day set up and hope that you will be on the edge of your seat during most of the day. What we'll start off with after a little bit of a welcome activity is basically the day will include 3 research sessions, each of which is going to focus on a different disciplinary orientation towards culture, social psychology, economics, and sociology. And after each of the researchers talk a little bit about the domain, a discussant will sort of bring some of the ideas together, and we'll have a question period to discuss what people talked about. Those will be interspersed with 3 practice roundtables where organization leaders will come up and talk a little bit about the challenges and successes that they've had in grappling with the notion of culture within their organizations. And these are going to be fascinating. We're so grateful to all of the participants who've been able to take some time away from addressing, business challenges on a moment-to-moment basis to be here with us and share their insights. The 3 basic themes that we're going to go through in those roundtables are linking multiple cultures, sort of thinking about organizations that have not just one monolithic culture, but also subcultures and how to grapple with those issues. A second has to do with innovation and culture, and a particular focus on assessing the culture and new ways of thinking about that. And a third has to do with building inclusive workplace cultures, which is a theme that people have been thinking about and contemplating quite actively recently. After each of the sessions, we'll have table group discussions to synthesize the discussion. We really invite you to be an active discussant in these sessions. We have a variety of ways of including your voice, and we encourage you to surface your questions and comments because we think that this is the way, this kind of engagement is what's going to allow us to move things forward. We will have some breaks as well, not very many, to be honest, but we'll do our best. We have a couple of requests of you. First is we have mic runners who will bring you a microphone if you want to say something out loud, just so that we make sure everyone in the room can hear. We have our tech-enabled approach, which is called Pigeonhole. We used it yesterday. It seemed like it worked reasonably well. I'll tell you about that in just a moment. Please try to meet some people that you may not even know yet. And in fact, we have a target for you, which is sort of 3 and 3. If you can distinguish the academics from the business people. I don't know how you do that, but yeah, I don't know. It used to be that academics dressed worse, but it's not so much anymore. But I don't know. Yeah, glasses, yeah, no. Actually, yeah, I didn't wear glasses for a long time, and then I started wearing them, and one of my colleagues asked me if I was trying to look smart. So, yeah, I don't know, is it working? So anyway, if you could try to meet 3 new academics, if they're still wearing a name card, they should have university somewhere on there, and 3 new business people who are working in an organization. And, this is what gatherings like this are all about, is to make new connections and to open your mind and to broaden your network. We have our Haas marketing team folks here. Laura Counts is here. Her colleague Natasha is also here. They may tap a few of you to go back into our beautiful green room and ask you a little bit about how the conference is going. And we really would be grateful if you'd be willing to share your insights there. So please accommodate them if they ask you. With regards to Samir and I, we're really interested in your feedback about the conference, about the initiative, any ideas that you have. We basically take one day off tomorrow, and then we'll start planning for the third conference the next day. But really, we're interested in your feedback and really want to know how things are going for you. Okay, so we have our welcome activity, and we're going to take about 15 minutes on this. And let me sort of lay it out for you. So at your table, there are a set of images in the middle of your table, some pictures. And what we want to do is ask you to quickly select the image that best represents how you think about culture. So each person in the group is going to do that. Then we're going to ask you to have each table member explain why they chose their image, and we're going to then ask people to share one creative image or a couple groups to share the image that they saw as most creative based on what the group discussed. Okay, so about a 15-minute conversation. Everyone should choose an image, explain why it's meaningful to them from a cultural perspective, and then we'll cold call. Go. So, welcome back. So, as you know, these were fairly random photos. I'm just wondering what you came up with. I have absolutely no idea. Would love to hear from a couple tables. Please. Hi, Bethany. How are you?
Oh, hi. So my name is Bethany. I work at Netflix. I'm on the HR team there. And there's a conversation that we've just been starting to have around these kind of two tension points that we find ourselves in this intersection with all the time. And so my photograph, for those who can't see, is a sign with two directions. And so I was sharing that there's never kind of this, like, just the top 5 culture aspects that are all just kind of harmoniously intertwined. They always have some sort of these kind of tension points. So we were talking about transparency, and on the other side is kind of this kindness aspect. We were talking about how there's talent density and psychological safety, and so this is very much the framework of how to proceed between the two.
So kind of resolving those tensions or living with them, or
perhaps maybe a little bit of both.
Yeah, interesting. Great.
Yep.
Others? Yeah, please.
Okay, so we had excellent discussions about the different pictures around the table, and lots of the discussion was about the tensions and the negotiations, or the playfulness at negotiating the cultural attributes. But actually, we decided to present this different picture, so we picked this one, which is the back of the picture. Oh. So it says simply that actually culture is what we cannot really see and really point at, definitely, but that enables us to see the colors of the world.
Oh. Very poetic. Yes, yes. How about, yeah, please.
Hi, Jason Franklin from Adobe. I chose this crown, and the reason I did is, and by the way, I do a lot of leadership development at Adobe. I chose the crown because we are each creating. We each have this power to create our culture, both big C that we're contributing to, but a leader, especially little c culture on their team. It's almost like they have complete power to create that culture that matters to them. So a crown.
Nice. One more, maybe an image that we haven't seen, please. Table 13 there. Run, Dan.
So David from Genentech. I'm actually in finance, and we had some great pictures here. I didn't want to follow the blank canvas there.
It's too
but
profound.
we went with, for those who can't see, it's a Peloton pack in a bicycle, and the driver behind this was for a culture to thrive, everyone has to have a common direction and understand where that needs to go. But everyone at a different point needs to take the lead. So in the traditional sense of a hierarchy, there's leaders that set the tone. And I think where we're trying to go now is that everyone has to play that leadership role towards where that culture can go. So
and take some responsibility for carrying it. Yeah, thank you. Great, awesome.